Howdy y'all, this is AR Cavally. Welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to continue on uh, with our Forge solo role-playing. We kind of wrapped up the story arc for, not necessarily the inciting incident, but maybe, but at least the intro to where, despite two of them being audio ruined, they went out, did their first mission, and then got back. So we're going to basically just start a new arc. And it may connect to the other one, it may not. Don't know. So what we're going to do, see, first I'm going to adjust my little camera here. See if I can scooch my chair without knocking my other camera all over the place. All right. So we're just going to make a random adventure. We're going to start off with a random adventure, a random quest, and go from there. See what we get. All right, one. So it's character based. We go to our next table, and our character based. See, I think our first one was character based. Yeah, we had to go negotiate. Smuggle. Okay, so we're supposed to smuggle something, huh? And let's see, our subject is urban. I'm already having a vision of maybe tying this back to Lord Pendry. Maybe he wants them to smuggle something out of town, or hide something from this inquisitor or lawyer or whomever he suspects from, way back in session 2, I think, that he suspects is going to come after him. All right. So the character we did was an urban character. So what is our urban character? 5-4. A shopkeeper. All right, so he either needs to smuggle something to the shopkeeper, or maybe he's going to send them to do some business in the city to smuggle something from a shopkeeper for one of his experiments. That actually sounds a little more plausible. Let's see. I guess I'm just going to do 50-50. If 1 through 3, they're supposed to smuggle something out of town, which is gonna suggest that Pendry either thinks they're being observed, or there is somebody already maybe observing. Okay, so 6-5. So it's actually, they're supposed to get something from the shopkeeper and smuggle it back. Now, if you look at historically, there wasn't a lot of contraband, right? There's no DEA, there's no ducal DEA or whatever. Most smuggling was to get around the staple laws of the time. If we're talking about medieval or Renaissance era Europe type thing, because most cities had what was called the staple law, at least on the continent, which meant that any merchant traveling through the area was required to stop and sell their goods to the city for like 3 days. And they set the roads up in the area so that all the roads, basically went to the city. They would make it as hard as possible for merchants to try to get around. And so they would sell the staples to make sure that their city got, the first dibs, basically. And so that's what a lot of the smuggling was. They would try to smuggle around a city, or they would try to, smuggle up and down the river, try to sneak stuff through. And of course, if they got caught, then they were in a lot of trouble. But that was mostly what the smuggling was about, was avoiding having to sell and pay fees and taxes. And hopefully they won't drop their goods at the first sign of a Imperial starship. Let's see. All right, so they're getting from a shopkeeper. I don't necessarily want, I want to do a little more exploration, but the most reasonable idea is that this shopkeeper is going to be in the city because it has a lot of people and so therefore it's going to have a wider variety, a higher inventory. So I'm going to say it's likely that he's just going to send them right back. Yeah. Oh, okay. So going to send them back, and then we have our 5, but that's a but. I need to try to remember to. I have a tendency to hold this right here. I need to throw it out here so I can share it with my my loyal viewers. All right, so there is a but involved in there. What is that but? And is it a big but? I think that but's going to be he's sending him to the city, but this guy travels a lot, so he may not be there, and they may have to go find him somewhere else, or may have to wait, or maybe he'll be in trouble. Obviously, we're going to want to do a little more than just go there and come back without some kind of exciting adventures. That's what it's all about, right? I think one thing, I can't remember if I mentioned it, and if I did, it probably lost the audio, but I think a city encounter section would be useful. They have one for wilderness and the different types of terrain and everything. In dungeons, let's see. Now, of course, it says that in the delving the depths part, the dungeon, could be defined as anything from a stately manor house. I guess you could say it's a whole city, but I might pull out one of my other solo resources hopping around the city. All right, but we'll go ahead and we will start our journey. Unmark all my rations. Oh, let me rearrange my gold here quick and my camera again. All right. Now I remembered I had this Sister of Battle, so that if we ever use Morgana again, that's who that's going to be, our Sister of Battle. Because the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, using that other miniature that I used, which I don't guess you really saw much because of the audio issue. So, but I had picked kind of like a big ugly barbarian dude, but I forgot about them. All right, so since they are going to, there's no point in running through hexes just for the sake of running through hexes, but they're going to go ahead and do their stuff. All right, so our encounter roll is going to take place. All right, 8 hours into the trip. So, since I'm not really keeping a specific distance or whatever, I just tend to treat that as being kind of in the middle, or I just give them the full hour to cross, or the full time to cross a hex, depending on if I forget that. I usually do it the other way. Let's see. So we've got 4 hours to cross. So I'm going to say that's going to put us. Well, that's going to put us because this one has the trail. I'm going to say that's going to put us right on the other side of the mountains. That's going to put us coming down the trail when we roll the encounter check. So that means we're going to be in the mountains. All right, so we have an encounter. I don't think that Pendry would send Morgana, but she is in his employ, and he obviously wants whatever this is. I'm saying it's unlikely, so 5 or 6 he actually sends her with. Now, of course, she's kind of got a crush on Lucas, so she will happily go, maybe suggest it herself. Maybe I should go with them, boss. Okay, so she does. She convinces Lord Pendry right as they're getting ready to head out of town. She comes running up and says, "Hey, I'm going with you." And then they head on. Now it's a little odd to have the companion who's actually the toughest of the three, but sometimes that's what life gives you. Anyway, let's see what our encounter is. I guess it's better to have strong NPC buddies than weak ones that run away. All right, so we have a danger roll. Wilderness. Let's see what kind of wilderness danger. So we'll do a D6. 4. Okay, so it's a creature. What kind of critter? All right, so it's going to be coming over to our tables. We are in the wilderness, so it's +1 to the creature type, which is 2d6. So that's 7, 8. All right, it's a beast. A beast! And I guess it could be airborne, going through the mountain areas or whatever. Probably not going to be aquatic, though. So I'll say 1 through 5, it's going to be an earthbound type creature, and then a 5 or 6, it's an air. Okay, so it's a airborne encounter with a 3/5, a gull. All right, well, I don't guess they're it wouldn't really be gulls anyway, but so as they're walking along, that's not a very interesting encounter, but not everything has to be heroic, right? Not everything is worthy of the saga. But so they're walking along. Instead of gulls, I'm going to say they're like buzzards, since we're in the mountains. I'm no zoologist, but all the gulls I've ever seen were always near an ocean. So they come along, and they see circling buzzards overhead, which means there's something dead nearby. So I'm going to use that. Let's see what's dead nearby. Is it anything that's interesting? I'll probably say it's not likely. It's probably just some dead, some dead critter. But maybe it's interesting what killed it. No, they come across, and it's the buzzards are circling an antelope or something that just had its last day the other day, and they're chowing down. So they make camp at the foothills on the other side, and they do their watch. Anything happen? It might actually be some kind of encounter at night. Swamp Mountains. Yeah. So something, they do have a danger encounter, because you roll once during the night, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But they set up camp, something comes up. Let's see what comes up. What kind of encounter? Six. Okay, so it's another creature. All their other times, I think I rolled. I maybe not have rolled. But this is like the only time they've found anything interesting or run across any life. I guess I'll put it that way. So it is a creature. What kind of creature is it? That's a +1 on the 2-die-6. Ooh, it's a monster. With a 12, that's a monster. Let's see. Are those tables on the front? No, that's all right. All right, so monster. We come over to our monster table. What do we have? It's a rare monster. It's an undead plus creature. Oof. All right, so some kind of undead plus creature. So now we're going to come back to our table. What kind of creature is it? It's an undead 8. It's an undead beast. How interesting is that? Okay, yeah, so that's going to be an undead earthbound creature. Well, let's see. This might be delving into the realm of horror with some strange undead bear. Reminds me of that. Maybe we'll get a giant skinless bear like that old movie from the 70s about it was like some toxin from the plant getting into the thing and made these huge skinless bears that went around terrorizing people. 6'4". And it's an undead weasel. All right. Undead weasel. It's an undead Polyshore. The weasel. Okay. Let me ponder a moment on what to do with this one. All right. Well, as I was thinking about it, the idea of a undead weasels actually could be pretty terrifying. You know, the same thing as undead rats or anything else, but weasels a little bit bigger. All right, so let's see what their reaction is. I'm gonna assume that they're some escaped or forgotten or turned loose experiment from a mad necromancer or alchemist. All right, so they're neutral. Seems, they're undead, so they're kind of unthinking. So maybe they're just hanging around. They're wandering around at night. Let's see. It probably would only be like one hit die, if that. So, let's see. Oh, we'll say it's been given a predator behavioral trait. Okay, so it would if they decide to attack, like what Kodo and Moto from the Beastmaster, except they have glowing eyes and it's like the Beastmaster meets Resident Evil. How many are there? There's a pack. So there are 6 of these things. So yeah, it was a obviously some kind of spell or curse or experiment on a probably in someone's lab. The rats of Nim, they escaped. So 6 undead weasels. Let's see who's on watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so it is our barbarian. She's on watch. And one table I keep forgetting to use is this distance. How close are they? 5. All right, so they're distant. Let's see. So she thinks she's probably, they're quiet. She's quiet. But she's kind of a barbarian. Does she notice? Does she hear them before they get too close? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. In fact, she hears the noise off in the distance. Well, I don't know what kind of noise an undead weasel would make, but it probably, well, if you've ever been hunting and you heard squirrels going through the underbrush, that sounds like a freaking herd of bears. But so this wandering troop of undead weasels, they tramp through a loud area of underbrush, and they don't care. They're undead. They're not really, their survival instincts aren't what they used to be. And she hears them far off, and so I'm going to say that by the time they get close, they've had enough time to gear up. Let's see. All right, so our heroes tensely grip their weapons as the sound of movement from the forest night gets closer and closer, and they see these creatures slowly enter the peripheral, the maximum range of how their campfire casts its light, and they see them skittering about slowly, listlessly, and then suddenly with a quick burst of speed, and they see their weasels. They're big weasels, though. They're abnormally large sized weasels. They're not quite as big as the dogs there, but and as they continue to just shamble on towards them, they notice that the weasels, their eyes aren't really reflecting in the light, and as they get closer and closer, they see that their eyes are dead, black, flat, some missing their eyes. And Morian lets out a little shriek and says, "Oh my gods! What are they?" "They're cursed beasts. Kill them! It's Weasel Stomping Day!" And she's going to charge, and he's going to charge. She doesn't really want to charge, but she could use a sling, maybe. But she'll gird her loins and jump in with them. Because the weasels are undead and because they were ready, I'm just going to go ahead and give the heroes the initiative. Let's see if they can do anything with it. All right, we'll just start going left to right. She's still using her rapier. Okay, 16 minus 2, that's 14, so that's a hit with 3 minus 2. So she manages to get a little cut across one, and it looks up at her, and she lets out a little shriek again. All right, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so because she's 3rd level and strength is her thing, she does get a hit in there with her axe, and she swings it and brings it down on. Oh yeah, she splits that weasel right in half. And Lucas, let's see, 11, 12, 13, enough to hit. Okay, good. He's going to do some damage this time, and he skewers one on the end of his spear and flings it off into the darkness where it flops. All right. Now these undead weasels, who knows? Maybe they would have just passed on into the darkness if not attacked but they're going to attack. And let's see, where's this third? Where's this one-on-one? Where's this guy going to go? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Since they're small, I'm going to say 2 of them can really get in the same hex. All right, so 2 on the barbarian, 1 on our other hapless heroes. All right, Morian. 12, that's a miss. And I'll go ahead and do Lucas. A miss. And then 2 on our barbarian. Oh, 2 15s. Is that enough to hit her? I think that is enough to hit her. That's what she gets for wearing those open-toed barbarian sandals. She got her toes nibbled off. Let's see. What is her armor class? It should be 14. I forgot she replaced her helmet. One of the things I let helmets give a +1 AC, but it's still only 14, so she gets her toes nibbled. 2d4, 1 and a 4, so for 5 points, she's back down to 13. Man, she gets beaten up a lot for a barbarian. Oh, warrior princess. All right, so they climb up and they start clawing and biting at her legs, and she's trying to grab them and smack them with the butt of her axe to get them off so she can chop them down. All right, let's see if we can get a rapier attack. Nope. How about another spear? Okay, it's going to be a spear. It's going to be this last one over here. All right. So he spears another weasel to the ground and smashes its skull with his boot as it's pinned to the ground. And with the disgusting and less resistant crunch than he would have expected, it kind of smooshes. Its skull smooshes instead of crunches. That one is taken care of. And now nibbled and angry. All right. All right. She grabs one of these. She grabs the weasel and throws it on the ground and smashes it with the butt of her axe. And it splatters green undead weasel guts everywhere. All right. This one's going to attack Morian. Oh, no! That leaps up. That's doing some Vorpal Rabbit from the Monty Python damage there. Okay, so that's a 20. So she's... Oh, no, I think she's only got 4 hit points. Ruh-roh. What an ignominious way to go. This is... Goes... Oh, does she have a helmet? Does she have a helmet? Aha, okay, so she has a helmet, which is good because she only has 4 hit points. So the weasel leaps up, and instead of ripping her throat out, it with this strange viciousness and sudden surge of strength, grabs her helmet. So that's going to lower her AC by 1. Grabs her helmet and starts clawing and ripping it apart. She pulls the helmet off because it's clawing around, and she throws it to the ground, and it goes crazy on the helmet. So that would have been funny. That would have been a funny way to go, to get your throat ripped out by a tiny undead weasel. That would have been funny. I would have allowed that if she didn't have a helmet. All right, now let's attack our barbarian. 15, another bite. So while she's smashing the one, its comrade is still crawling around her legs, biting her bum. Dang, for another 4 points. Good grief. Those little biters. So Morgana screams in anger and pain. And she's down to half hit points already. She probably is now wishing that she would have just sat there. But all right. So Morgana, or not Morgana, but Morian, while this weasel is still tearing and trying to shred her helmet on the ground at her feet, she stabs desperately at it with her rapier. 14 minus 2 is 12, and that is just enough. With a 5 minus 2 is 3. So while it's in there, she stabs it and stabs it and stabs it and stabs it, and green undead weasel guts are oozing and splashing around the inside of her helmet, which she doesn't want to wear, even if it weren't crumpled anymore. And Morgana, screaming in pain and rage. All right. Screaming in pain and rage, she grabs this weasel, sticks her axe in the ground, and swings the weasel down and hits the blade of the axe, slashing it in half. And with oddly enough, the thing that makes it even more creepy is that, except for when it was like attacking the helmet, they're really quiet. They're not like squeaking and shrieking like those things. or like weasels and rodents. They're just undead. Guess maybe they do undead squeaks. All right. So Morgana, angry and in pain from these bites from these giant weasels that dug into her legs, she goes around and she stomps on them all, stomps all their heads in just to make sure some cursed beasts from some strange mage's lab, probably. It burns. They return to their camp. She dresses her wounds. Let's see, how far into the night was that? Yeah, I think if they sleep in late, she can maybe get a rest. No, actually, no, I don't guess so, because they wanna head on. She'll press on. Since I'm really running more of a D&D type campaign than I usually do, I don't generally have a lot of healing potions and things like that, but I want to throw a couple in since that's kind of the flavor of this one. But her legs are covered with bites and scratches and bleeding. And they turn in. All right. So experience 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got killed. All right. So each one has a one level, so it's 10 experience points per level times special ability, I think. Is that right? Let's see. Character advancement. All right, so yeah, it's 10 XP per hit dice times the number of special abilities. I'm going to assume that if they have 0 special abilities, that you still get XP. So one special ability, especially in this case, didn't really change anything. So just 10, so 60. So each person gets 20 experience. And since it's small and towards the end of the episode, I'll just go ahead and note it there. Since she's with them, they of course have to split XP with her. And it's going to be a while before she gets up anywhere, unless they find a big treasure. So, all right. So the rest of the night passes uneventfully. They're have a little trouble getting to sleep since they just ran into these strange undead creatures, these strange undead weasels coming out of the night. Is there a lab nearby? Have they been wandering for eons? Who knows? All right. They're going to carry on. Let's see. Okay. All right. So that was the roll to see when. It costs 4. It takes 4 hours to go across one of those hexes, and so 1 hour into the hills. Right before that 6 was the encounter check, so that's a discovery. And I know we're a little over 30 minutes right now, but I kind of want to get to the city. Sometimes I don't even bother rolling just because I don't necessarily feel like having a random encounter. But in this case, let's see what our wilderness discovery is. If it turns into something big, then we will probably do it next episode. 1, an unnatural feature. 2, arcane blight. Oh, okay. Is that related to those weasels? Probably not. I'm going to say it's unlikely. Yeah, it's not. Oh, it's not, but you know what? That would be a random encounter or a random table roll, but I think I'm going to skip it just because I don't want to. I don't want to do that right now. I am, however, going to note that they ran into a blight. That might come in later. This is some kind of arcane blight. So possibly they find a patch of hills or a couple of hills where all the vegetation on it, they're not just dead, but something that makes it arcane. So maybe they're altered. Instead of having withered and died, maybe they've all turned into maybe like living. Yeah, that's it. I think there's an area here. Let's see. There's a creature. It's a thorn vine. I think that's what it's called. We'll use something like that. A thorn vine. Enchanted thorny vines. Yeah, okay. So this arcane blight, they don't stumble into it, but it's a large patch of thorn vines. What madman, what curse would cause that? And then they get into town. No further ado, through the hills. Maybe they had to take a different way around because something got flooded or a tree fell across the path they took, so they had to veer around a little bit, and they found this area of these thorn vines, and they walk around them because they don't want to go they don't want to go through them, but they're out there. Might lead to some other hook for something in the city, or might be a good place to set up a booby trap if they can lure people. You never know. So we're just gonna leave that detail there and maybe use it later, or maybe never use it again. But they reach the city of Bondif and enter the bustling ducal capital, and we will call it there. And hope everyone's enjoying themselves. I know I am, and I guess that's what really counts. So happy gaming.